A memorial service was held in Fargo this evening for a West Fargo High School senior who suffered a severe brain aneurysm and died earlier this week. 17-year-old Eleni Wilson was at rehearsal for West Fargo High School's production of Cinderella on Tuesday when someone found her on the bathroom floor during a break in the rehearsal. Ambulance crews rushed Ms. Wilson to the hospital, but doctors later determined that she had no brain activity. Doctors kept Ms. Wilson alive until yesterday so they could retrieve her organs in order to be used for donation. Reaction to Ms. Wilson's death in West Fargo has been nothing short of shocked. In addition to tonight's memorial service in West Fargo, a funeral will be held in Ms. Wilson's hometown of Winnipeg, Manitoba next week. Meanwhile, Ms. Wilson's friends and fellow cast members unanimously agreed to continue with the show, with the 3 performances beginning on November 11th in her honor. A shot was fired at an armed robbery at a liquor store in Fargo last night. However, Fargo police say no one was injured as a result. Fargo Police Lieutenant Joel Vettel says 2 men entered the establishment a little before 9 p.m. last night and demanded money from the employees. The employees complied, but a round was fired off at one point. Lieutenant Vettel says it is not clear if the shot was fired by accident or as a scare tactic. The 2 men left the scene by car with an undisclosed amount of money, but a description of the car or of the men was not yet available. Lieutenant Vettel says it's likely the men were wearing disguises, but the store has video surveillance which the officers will review. The armed robbery is the 5th such incident this month and the 2nd one this week, after 3 men robbed a gas station early Wednesday morning. Lieutenant Vettel says it's unclear if last night's robbery is connected to any of the other robberies. 3 workers were injured and taken to a hospital in Grand Forks after a chemical reaction occurred at a business in northern Grand Forks last night. Neither the extent of the workers' injuries nor their identities have been released. The chemical reaction occurred at the Western Polymer plant, which supplies potato starches to the paper industry. Officials say different chemicals were being mixed when the reaction occurred. Chlorine gas filled the air and was smelled at the scene, but did not pose any serious threat to the public. Occupy Wall Street protesters in New York City and other cities have united in support for an Iraq war veteran who was injured in Oakland, California earlier this week. Marine veteran Scott Olson suffered a skull fracture on Tuesday night after allegedly being struck by a canister of tear gas. Mr. Olson is reported to be in fair condition, although is still in an intensive care unit at a hospital in Oakland. Police have been cracking down on protesters in many cities, and many of the protesters have been inspired, jaded, or maybe just plain outraged by Mr. Olson's story. Meanwhile, authorities are searching for effective ways to deal with demonstrators who are protesting what they call corporate greed, arrogance, and power. Saif al-Islam al-Gaddafi, who is the son of the late Colonel Muammar al-Gaddafi, was contacted by the International Criminal Court at The Hague today in an effort by the court to have Mr. Gaddafi come in to face trial before the court. Prosecutor for the court, Luis Moreno Ocampo, says he doesn't know the whereabouts of Mr. Gaddafi and didn't identify the parties conveying messages between himself and Mr. Gaddafi. The court issued arrest warrants for Mr. Gaddafi 4 months ago, but Mr. Moreno Ocampo wanted to make it clear that if Mr. Gaddafi turns himself in, he will be treated fairly and won't suffer the same fate as his father. Mr. Moreno Ocampo said earlier today, quote, "The office of the prosecutor has made it clear that if he surrenders to the ICC, he has the right to be heard in court. He is innocent until proven guilty." End quote. As October is wrapping up, fall has definitely moved in. And while there are plenty of leaves on the ground, it looks like we might also get some snow to join them in blanketing the ground. But Jessica Gulseth can tell us more about that. Jessica?
Thanks, Matthew. This morning was a little chilly, but as the day continued and the sun came out, we saw a high of about 49 degrees. Tonight will be mostly clear with a low around 27. Well, it's finally Friday, Jamestown. That means it's time to relax and enjoy the weekend. Saturday, you may want to enjoy the weekend indoors, for we could be looking at some rain. There is a 20% chance of showers in the morning and afternoon, and then a 40% chance of rain and snow later in the evening. But it will be about 50 degrees most of the day and cool down to only about 35 degrees once the sun goes down. And Sunday will be a few degrees cooler than Saturday, again a slight chance of rain and snow, but not quite as high of a chance as Saturday. We're looking at about a 10% chance, but still try and be aware of that. The first couple days of the week will be warm. Monday will see a high of almost 60 degrees, and Tuesday will be in the low 50s, and then Wednesday, high 40s. It looks like it will start to cool off towards the middle of the week of next week, but it's Friday, so we can't complain too much right now. That's the weather, Jamestown. Have a nice weekend, and now back to you, Matthew.
Thanks, Jessica. Jimmy women's basketball team had another solid game last night against Bemidji State University, winning by a final score of 81-68. The Jimmy's dominant first half performance put the game handily in their favor long before the final whistle, as they outscored Bemidji 44-19 in the first half. Casey Geffrey led the Jimmies in scoring through the game as she had 12 points. The women will be looking to improve on their 3-0 record tomorrow afternoon as they take on the University of Winnipeg. Tip-off for the women's game tomorrow is at 2 p.m. The number 22 ranked Jimmy men's basketball team takes the court as well tomorrow and will also be playing the University of Winnipeg in the men's first regular season game. Tip-off for the men's game is at 4 p.m. Well, it's been a tough year for the Jimmy football team, but they're hoping to finish the season strong and improve on their 3-5 overall record tomorrow as they travel to Dickinson to take on Dickinson State University. The Jimmies will be the game will be the Jimmy's second to last game of the season and final Dakota Athletic Conference game this year, and maybe their final DAC game, period. The men's soccer team played Hamlin University at the Rotary Field this afternoon. The Jimmies were fighting for a final playoff spot and were looking to improve on their 9-6 overall record. Senior Day is on Sunday for both the men and women's soccer teams as they both play against the University of Great Falls. Sunday's game starts at noon for the men and at 2 p.m. for the women. If you tuned into last night's World Series game against the Cardinals and Rangers, you were in for a treat, that's for sure. Last night's thriller included 2 late-inning rallies by the Cardinals, who were finally able to capture the victory behind a walk-off home run from Mark Lowe. Thank you for joining me tonight, Jamestown. At JCTV, it's always our pleasure to connect the campus with the community. Be sure to check your newsstands for the new Collegian issue, and make sure to go online to our website at www.jccollegian.com. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you on Monday. I'm Matthew Nies in Jamestown.